we're meeting now with Sean and Leah from GoodBlock, the head of growth and head of business development. And this is an interview on the back of the Helios incubator program. So we'll get into a little bit about some of those experiences maybe that you guys are having through that program a little later on. But we're really focusing on speaking towards investors and also founders in the blockchain space so that we can knowledge share and absorb some of the updates and the challenges and things that we will go through in this space. So with that said, I wanted to start by understanding a little bit about the services that GoodBlock is working on at the moment. Two that are in my mind, and maybe you have others to cover. One is D-Store, and one is a blockchain voting mechanism. But rather than just go into it like a big description, for now, I want to key on to the problem that you can identify that you're solving with those two products, and then any other problems that you're solving in other parts of the business. So let's start there.
I'll talk about D-Store a little bit and then let Leah answer about Decide governance and the future with that. And the problems that we see and why it exists. Cloud storage is something, that, we're not the first people to think about this as a need, a decentralized cloud storage. There were tons and tons of, especially in 2017, people who said, hey, we can solve this problem. But the solutions that they came up with have a lot of issues, and they're definitely not enterprise grade. We developed our patented cloud storage solution because we needed the speed of a centralized option, but we needed the security of decentralization. And we didn't want to be out underneath, all the issues that happen with decentralized cloud storage. So we saw those issues and we developed a product that would solve that, essentially, is creating this enterprise grade cloud storage solution. So, yeah.
So the key there that I'm hearing is that speed is a significant problem in terms of decentralized storage, and you believe that you have solved that problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And then do you want to, Leah, do you want to tell us the problem that is being solved, or just maybe the big picture? Because I think voting mechanisms, the corruption that happens in political voting, and then how do we govern society and businesses and everything. It's such a big topic. So over to you to introduce blockchain voting mechanism.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having us and giving this opportunity to speak with you and speak with your audience. So we do have a blockchain-based voting system. We call it Decide. We're soon to release a sister project called DAO Maker. We haven't zoned in on the name, but the idea came from just what you were saying, and even for our own personal needs as a company. So Decide allows for blockchain voting that allows for transparency and allows a user to audit their own vote, essentially. So it comes with a host of tools. It's very flexible, it's modular, and allows people to set up a community easily and then govern that community per the rules that they have established at the start, and give people or community members buy-in to that community via voting tokens. Yeah. And if you think about this in the space we're in blockchain, we created that because we needed it on the Telos blockchain, not just to vote in block producers, if anyone's familiar with how that works. But also to vote in funding. We have Telos Works, which is a funding mechanism on chain. We needed a way for our community members to vote on that. We have an arbitration system. We needed a way for community members to participate in that arbitration system. We have documents that need amending. That's why we also have Telos Amend that goes along with Telos Decide and allows community members like a Google Doc to amend documents in real time, but then record those amendments on the blockchain. So anyone, the idea is if you hired an auditing firm to come in and look at your governance decisions and audit where the funding or votes went, where it happened, that would all be available and is available on the blockchain. How this the real world implications are kind of obvious, but I think around the world, as an American, of course, that's what I'm most familiar with. There's constant questions about the security of, the process we use to vote in our elected officials. And I think from all sides of the political spectrum, that's a concern. If we had some kind of tool that would allow privacy and transparency in voting, all of our lives would be easier. Well, maybe not our government officials' lives. Maybe they would be upset with such a development, but we'll see. So we're eating our own dog food, starting with our community and hoping to expand.
Yeah, fantastic. Again, it's just such a big and such an amazing and important topic. I think governance is going to become increasingly relevant, not just through Web3 and the adoption of Web3, but because people are losing confidence in our democratically elected leaders, right? That's part of the point. Are there use cases that are not applicable, do you think, to the solution that you're providing, or can this be used in terms of every possible type of voting all the way through to electing presidents?
We believe that the core functionalities are there for us to easily build on top of to meet any use case that merits it. We have a lot of out-of-the-box tools already. You can decide if you're doing one token, one vote, one person, one vote, quadratic voting. Like, you can already set up all those things there. You can choose the kind of governance structures you want. We have some templates there. But yeah, it's something as silly as when we're in Telegram and you do a Telegram poll and people are like, oh, but how do you know someone just didn't log in with 50 different Telegram accounts? Or, it solves silly problems like that to problems that may seem silly to some, but are how people make their money. Giveaways on Instagram, giveaways. If there was a way that anyone could see that these results happened in a trustless and fair way, there might be more participation, because that trust, it doesn't have to be given without verifying on their own end. So I've even spoken to people that, something as silly as the lottery are using our tools to create like lottery games based on the actual lottery that runs the United States. So they just use the numbers picked through the lottery, but then you get to verify all that information on the blockchain, which is really cool. So I think there's a lot of commercial uses. We've spoken to some Fortune 500 companies that would like to use tools like this for their company governance and internal governance needs. So I think I actually couldn't come up with all the different ways that people would use this, and it is open source. So
it's such a flexible tool. And we feel really positive about how we are developing it, as well as, because it's out there, it's live, but, as we advance it, and especially as we deploy the next kind of layer, which is the Decide DAO element that we want to, the sister tool, which I think will be really, really super valuable. All that functionality is currently in the actual one we have. We're just rearranging the physical visual of it so that people know, oh, if I'm doing a DAO, this is why I can use this tool to create that. So.
Fantastic. So having an open source tool that has so many use cases, that can allow you to get a lot of adoption for a service within GoodBlock. But paint me the picture of kind of the revenue opportunity. Like, I want to make the case of GoodBlock being an investment business. So you're not just producing free tools that people can use, but where's the business model for GoodBlock?
For us, we see this as a tool that we will be white labeling, and we're already in discussions with organizations and people about that specifically for their company. So they'll say, hey, we want to use this within our organization, but we want it branded, and we only want to use it within our, whether it's an actual government or whether it's a big company, then there's the business the revenue side for us is being able to redeploy it specifically for those people. And then also they'll say, we just need it to do X, and then we can, we don't want all the extras. We only need it for this, and so we get the
opportunity. Custom developments as to specific use cases. Your team will actually go to do that work of the UX and the feature development as required. Custom.
Yeah, and we do suspect as we get more of these clients, a lot of those requests will start to become very similar. And then we can decide whether we want to add these new features, in our freemium version, or continue to hold on to those and kind of just template it out like, okay, you want, your company colors are this, you want these functionalities, you want these time periods, because in speaking to some of these Fortune 500 companies, they aren't necessarily interested in right off the bat hiring a team to take care of this. Like, they have a team in place, but that team needs our guidance and needs us to work alongside them for X amount of time, which makes sense.
Yeah, the consultancy, the professional services, it sounds like there's an element of education and proof of concepts, like changing voting mechanisms and models for small to big companies is a big deal, right? It's central to improving their efficiencies, their effectiveness, but it is also a big learning curve. So I can see there's a tremendous amount of work in there. We can continue expanding on that, or let's transition to de-store a little bit. Give me a picture of, what stage of progress that is. How ready is it? There's 1,000 questions we can ask. What makes it unique? What is the revenue model that you're looking to do? Who do you think it will best serve, short term or longer term? Give me some thoughts on de-store.
Yeah, where we're at as far as the stage is concerned is we're in the process of building a new testing environment because we are in a closed beta right now and we don't want to deploy. We have a whole bunch of new tools that have just been built, and we can't deploy that into our production environment until we've tested it in another. So we have a test net right now, but it's not up to speed. So we're redoing a new, basically Lee, am I saying this correct? It's a new test net, and essentially it will allow us to test out all these new tools that we've done. So at that point, if everything looks good, it's anywhere from, however long it takes us to finish that production environment, 3 to 6 weeks of testing, and then we'll see where we're at as far as if anything needs to change or anything needs to be updated at that point. But we're excited because all the sort of like great feedback we've gotten in the beta so far has allowed us to say, oh, okay, well, let's add this. And then also talking to different investors where people are like, have you guys, or team members and resellers, that's been another source of good information where people are like, I've got this client, can it do this, or can you, will it be able to? So we've been adding these little great tools to de-store, and now we're about to test those out, and we're excited about that. As far as like the business model is concerned, our kind of we have verticals that we are kind of focusing on. Within the cloud storage, there are probably dozens of different verticals, but the big ones, there's a vertical for banking and financial and insurance, IT, telecommunications, government, manufacturing, healthcare and life sciences, retail, commercial goods, media, entertainment, and then others that get smaller and smaller. And our focus is really on about 5 of those because of our relationship with our resellers. We are saying, okay, let's focus over here. So the biggest verticals in that space are financial and insurance, IT, and then you've got healthcare, and then a smaller one is media. And those are our focuses. Our focus, because we have a reseller working in the insurance space, and we have the potential for a very large insurance company to join up, and a real estate company. So we're looking at those ones. That's a big one for us. Telecommunications and IT is another one that we've got some our hands in, and some potential LOIs coming. And then another one that we don't, but we see the potential in is healthcare and life sciences, because they store a massive amount of content. And you have whole networks of hospitals. So we'll be, I have a personal relationship with somebody on the IT who does IT for those, but we just haven't spoken to specific hospitals yet. So that's one. And then media and entertainment's a big one for us, because we already have a number of conversations with decentralized applications being built in that space. So, and then of course, government and the public sector, but that's a slower, because everything that has to do with government is slow. But we know that we will move in that direction. It might not be the U.S. government, but it would be who knows what other governments are in need of secure decentralized storage solutions.
Right. So it's like, it sounds like you're not just a 2017 white paper at this point, right?
No.
You're in a closed beta. You believe that you've solved problems that have been existent as decentralized, has been promised by various projects, and you've got market traction to the point that you're kind of halfway onboarding some potentially very, very big opportunities.
Yeah.
So in terms of the investment case, like, where would we say that D-Store is? It's still kind of, let's say, pre-seed, in that you don't have a product that customers can buy yet, but it sounds like you're very close to actual real world market traction, and that will then start to open up the doors for much larger, more significant kind of investability for the project. Is it D-Store that you're looking for investment, or is it GoodBlock, or like, what is the scope of investment potential?
It's GoodBlock, but D-Store is essential to our other products. So we have a gaming metaverse, we have an NFT platform that's being custom built for a specific client, and we have the Decide Voter, which will use D-Store, especially for documents and all of that. So D-Store is a critical piece and foundational piece to, actually, decentralized storage in general is critical to Web3. It's foundational to Web3. So we need to make sure that this is complete. As far as revenue is concerned, we actually are within our closed beta, we are starting to take revenue from those individuals. We started this year, 2022. So that's good. We have those 6 in that closed beta and over 100 on our wait list. And so we're pretty excited to be able to move forward, and we really feel like, okay, we're so close, let's get this wrapped up, let's finish these little things so that we can start onboarding all of these people that are willing.
Right. Our biggest challenge hasn't been in necessarily, I mean, we will, I'm sure, meet challenges about getting customers, but we're very lucky in that blockchain is a niche community that understands decentralized storage in a way that, our broader market maybe doesn't yet. And so basically every DApp on the Telos network has been like, yeah, I need to use that. And the EOSIO sister chains as well have commented to that. I've had people, BSC, say they would use it. So I think we're very lucky in that way that we have some traction already built in just by the nature of our product. And the funny thing is like Sean said, we have these people using it that we trust in beta that have been giving us great feedback and helping us pinpoint some issues that need to be fixed or are fixed. Sorry, that's my 2-year-old.
All good.
To wrap up what I'm saying, we could have been charging them and they were willing to be charged this whole time, but that's the part of bootstrapping, right? We have to allocate our time somewhere, and we made the decision just not to charge them in favor of, iterating faster on their feedback. So like Sean said, we're starting now to be like, okay, it's time to start charging. We need to bring some money in to move faster here.
Yeah.
Got you. So, and that was going to be my next question, was about the challenges. So maybe Sean would like to expand on the challenges that you can see. When we're doing decentralized storage, it's not just you selling a solution, but you're actually solving significant challenges for other blockchain companies, other different types of companies. Where do you see the challenges for yourselves or for customers that we need to address, or that you're helping to address?
I think that there's half a dozen or so really big challenges in cloud storage in general. You've got it's pretty expensive if you're a decent sized company and you have a lot of storage. It can get really expensive. It's not very secure. A centralized isn't secure. You've got internet outages, government censorship, or companies censoring you, other organizations. And they require trust. The decentralized, we already talked about, it's slow. Usually most of the decentralized solutions out there, you have to use their token. So those are kind of some of the big ones. And dstore itself approaches that, when you were looking at like centralized, it's significantly less money. Anywhere from 30 to 80, 90% savings. And how that works is that if I'm a company, I'll give you an example. Let's say I was a company that was like a miniature version of Dropbox, maybe 10% the size of Dropbox. I'm going to spend $200,000+ per month on storage with the big three. That's Amazon, Microsoft or Azure, and Google. It's over $200,000 per month with each one of those. dstore would be about 150, a little less than $150,000 a month. Some of those are close to 260, or one of them I think is around 260. If you were to, that's just one region, and they all talk about geo redundancy. So if you're a Dropbox type business, you're going to have to be in more than one region of the world. You'd have to be in 2 or 3. And with the big three, you actually nearly double, triple, quadruple your costs with every region that you add. So 2 regions, you're doubling costs. 3 regions, you're tripling your cost. dstore, the price stays the same because you're already global. Right out of the box, it's a global. So you're going to pay $800,000 or $1 million a month, and dstore is still less than $150,000 a month for a business that's that big. So again, we all know with decentralization, it's tamper-proof, it's trustless, and we allow people to, if they wanted to, if they're coming over from a traditional and they had crypto, they would be able to pay with crypto. On the other side of it, with Filecoin, MadeSafe, all the others, slow. They've got the permanence issues. We have our patents has allowed us to build something has the same comparable speed to the centralized competition. It's high permanence, and you can pay with a credit card. Government or DDoS protection as well is one of the other things that we've been able to add into our system. So I think those are the big challenges for us. I think our challenge right now is just finishing out the product. So we've got these little automated things that make it easier for our clients to be able to onboard, and those are the things that we're working on and finishing up.
Fantastic. And then having those case studies and be able to then take to the market and expand what you're doing. So look, you've presented the pitch deck, one version of it to me and a few of us, and it's an excellent pitch deck as they go, and the business model is very cool. Let's transition a little bit to the incubator program specifically. You were already well advanced. right? You weren't starting from scratch, but hopefully it's made some contribution to what you guys are doing. What are some of the highlights or the takeaways or what you think founders and staff would get from the incubator program?
I'm pretty passionate about being teachable, but sometimes you think, oh, I think I know all these stuff. But I gotta tell you, it has been awesome. I have learned so much. It doesn't matter that we were maybe more advanced in our process. Going into the program, you think, I probably will know this stuff. Now, there was lots of things that I didn't know. It was super good to be able to refine our pitch and refine our message. That just the other members in the incubator program gave such fantastic feedback. And then your guys, the Helios team, also super solid feedback, helping me kind of like, how am I saying this that makes sense in a simple, clean, and quick way that articulates the message and the need. And that has been super, super helpful. Refining a pitch deck down to 7 minutes was an excellent exercise. And knowing that maybe I won't ever do it in 7 minutes in real life, it's okay, because it allows me to be able to like really look through that process and see where investors are coming from has been super helpful. Because when you're doing it like we have been doing it, and you connected people, and before coming with GoodBlock, I had done a lot of pitches and some successful, and some you meet with a bunch of people and you're wondering why it's not working, and then eventually it does, but you're still sort of guessing because the VCs aren't giving you feedback, or if they are, it's like one little thing. So there's no back and forth. There's no like, hey, have you thought about saying it this way? I'm sorry, I'm just like gushing, but this was a really, really valuable experience. So
great. That's good insights as well, I think, for people for founders to hear as well of how things develop and you refine. And Leah?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to everything Sean said, just a quick sentence of, it's nice to have people helping you de-risk your company alongside you versus just behind closed doors against you. So you may never understand, like, we're not VCs. I personally don't have any experience in the VC world or angel world or anything like that. So you're often, left with a black box of like, is it the idea? Is it our business model? Is it our pitch? Is it, X, Y, or Z? And so to be able to get that insight is invaluable, and it helps de-risk what we're trying to do. So thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic. Is there something that you like? Open question. What's something that you feel is particularly strong about the pitch that you're making, whether it be for D-Store or for GoodBlock? What would you say to a potential investor?
I would say we have traction as a team. We have GoodBlock itself was the critical cornerstone piece to launching the Telos network. So that experience of writing that white paper, preparing and gathering hundreds, thousands of people to kind of the Telos network, and then launching it was foundational for that blockchain. And now GoodBlock didn't just like sit on its laurels. It was like, hey, let's keep making things, and has continued to move forward. And what's fun about this company is that the team is really, really great, but there was such a bootstrap mentality of, let's go out and, we started out because Douglas has as some of the rest of us do, we have a background in video production, and then gaming. And his background, he has a bunch of gaming background. So his initial thought after Telos launched, and he was kind of like, I'm going to do GoodBlock, I'm going to focus on gaming, was let me go out and do this gaming thing. And then he recognized that they had problems. And instead of like trying to like, oh, I guess we're not going to be able to do it, or I'm going to just use the centralized option, he was like, no, he was like, let's build, or I guess we'll make a thing for ourselves. And so everything we've done has been like, let's build this because we need it. And how should it work? what if somebody else wanted to use it? How would it work? And I love that inquisitive nature that is implemented into practical action. Does that, Leah, does that
That's
sound
what,
accurate? Because you've been
yes.
there longer than I have.
No,
You've been
that's
there a lot
completely
longer.
accurate. And it was exactly what I was going to say. I would say to any investor, here's a list of everything we've done the past 3 years. And we're going to do it with or without you. It'll just be a whole lot better with you as far as timelines, if we get the right investor. But we've been bootstrapping this, and we're not going to stop, funding or no funding. And for me, if I were an investor, that would feel good, because action's going to happen. It's just whether you want to help us along our journey, and maybe help us speed up our
speeds
journey.
things up. Yeah, speeds up the journey.
So let's you're mentioning a little bit of Telos there for the investors' sake, who are maybe like relatively new to the, let's say, the EOSIO community. There's some baggage in the industry associated with the EOS. What is the connection? You know, I have a bit of insight, but just as if you're talking to an investor who's maybe a crypto investor or looking to become a crypto investor, what is the summary or highlight of EOS versus EOSIO versus Telos, and then the connection with GoodBlock?
Well, yeah, let's answer this in tandem. So I would say that EOS right away, before they even launched, there were some issues that people saw in the governance and in how they were managing to move forward. And there were a number of other sister chains that popped up because people saw those issues and they wanted to address them. And Telos was one of them. Telos said, "Hey, we see these issues and we want to fix some of these problems and some of the challenges that we see in EOS, utilizing the EOSIO software because it was great software." Leah, how would you describe that? Because you and I were both there working together in different projects, sometimes together and sometimes separately.
No, you're absolutely right. For any investor, that I'd want to summarize the background of it is a community raised $4 billion for a company to release an open source software. The software they released was incredible. 3 years later, it still is, I would say, the fastest consensus software out there publicly. And it's super flexible, and it was an ingenious design. Hat tips to Block One for creating it. And what we've seen since then, because it is open source, is that different communities are implementing it in different ways. And Telos at its core is a community that wanted to implement it with a focus on usability and governance. And that was a vision led by our CEO, Douglas Horn. He wrote the original white paper for Telos, and he's put his money where his mouth is. So we're like Sean was saying earlier, we are headed by a person, and he has hired people who are sayers and doers. So the example I like to use is, in the 2017 ICO boom, there was a lot of white papers and promises, and for reasons beyond people, I mean, some were scams, but most, I think, were well-meaning and idealists and dreams. They'd raised a ton of money off of an idea, and some of those ideas were still waiting for them to fully come into fruition. Telos and GoodBlock said, let's do it first, and then let's ask people for money. So just with the background with the whole, I actually think EOSIO has been a huge success as a software. It's changed my life, and it's provided so many opportunities. The goal now is to get it in the hands of more people to create more opportunities.
Yeah.
Great. So GoodBlock is a private company building on the Telos blockchain. Telos, therefore, being public open source, built using the original EOSIO software out of that 4 billion investment, like 4 or 5 years ago, was the ICO raise.
Yeah.
And you're bootstrapping. So bootstrapping in the sense of not doing a big token sale yourselves, as in Telos or GoodBlocks, but building apps and Telos, we look at the growth of Telos, the chart, the price chart from a technical perspective looks fantastic, right? So it looks like things are starting to happen for the Telos ecosystem. Any last points on Telos?
Well, I will say this about GoodBlock in relation to Telos. GoodBlock's apps are chain agnostic. So whether a person was looking at DStore or Decide or anything else that we're building, gaming stuff, NFTs, they are, we could build them or use them anywhere. We were critical in doing the Telos EVM, and critical part of that team that launched the Ethereum virtual machine for the Telos network. And so we're very comfortable working in those other environments. From the Telos standpoint, the future is really, really exciting. It has continued to grow, and both from a community standpoint and from a value standpoint. And you see that, and even though you know, the market is going to do what it's going to do, because there's always going to be speculators, Telos has continued to move forward with a solid pace because of the amount of content that is being built there. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Any last comments that you'd like to share? Anything that I didn't ask? Any points on the back of your mind that you'd like to represent, whether it be to the community, the potential investors, other founders who are building in the space?
Yeah, just to reiterate what we were saying earlier, just to really drive it home, look at all we've done without money. Imagine if we had some. Come join us. Help us.
Well said, Leah. Well said. I love it.
Sean?
I can't add anything to that. That was actually perfect.
Right, so we'll leave it there. I've enjoyed the conversation. I think, you know, we could probably go for, what I'd like to do is future interviews and potentially go through your specific pitch deck or decks as they unfold. But I think it's worth us keeping this one fairly tight, so people can watch through, get a good sense of who you are, what you do. Where should people go on what's the website addresses that people should visit?
There is our goods to both the Decide and the DStore, but the DStore is app.dstore, is that correct? .cloud, or is it cloud? No, I'm saying it wrong.
I'll say it. So our main website has all the information you need to navigate to those others. That's GoodBlock, GoodBlock.io. If you want to go directly to the DStore website, that's dstor.cloud. And if you want to go to the Decide website, that's Decide Voter, DECIDE, Voter, VOTER.app, APP. And we're happy to send those to you so you could post them in the description.
Yes, fantastic.
Perfect.
All right. Good conversation. Thank you. It's a little bit short notice. I've enjoyed the catch up.
My
and
pleasure.
we'll talk again in the incubator program pretty soon. Have a good day.
Thanks, Gabrielle.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.